The day had been long. The never-ending meetings and piles of paperwork had drained every ounce of energy from me. All I craved was the comforting embrace of my bed. Little did I know that this night would spiral into a night of unimaginable terror, the kind of night that would forever be etched in the darkest corners of my memory. I drifted off to sleep earlier than usual, my mind too exhausted to even form coherent thoughts. The silence of my small suburban home was welcoming, almost lulling me into a deeper sleep. But that tranquility was not meant to last. It was shattered by a sound that jolted me awake. The sudden noise sent a chill down my spine. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic drum against my ribs. What had I heard? Was it real or a figment of my sleep-deprived mind?
As Turris lay in his bed, the night took a dark turn, one that would haunt him forever.
It was a loud knock on the front door. Sharp, insistent, and filled with an urgency that reeked of danger. I sat up in bed, my senses on high alert, straining to hear any other sounds that might cut through the heavy silence that had descended upon my house. The knocking came again, even louder this time. It was a sound that sent shivers down my spine, a sound that screamed of danger. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers clumsily trying to dial 911. But the knocking, insistent and impatient, wouldn't stop. Adrenaline surged through me, urging me to act. I couldn't just sit there frozen by fear. I had to do something. But what?
The urgency of the situation left Turris with little time to think, only to react.
Throwing the covers aside, I scrambled out of bed and grabbed my Ruger AR-556. The cold steel felt reassuring in my hand, a stark contrast to the fear that was starting to grip me. I crept towards the bedroom door, my bare feet silent against the hardwood floor. With each step closer to the source of the sound, my heart pounded louder. I could feel the blood rushing in my ears, a steady rhythm against the terrifying silence of the house. What awaited me on the other side of the door? I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. I knew I had to be prepared for anything. This was my home and I would protect it.
Turris moved cautiously, every step bringing him closer to the unknown.
Peeking through the curtains, I could make out a shadowy figure on my porch. The figure was tall and menacing, shrouded in darkness. A chill ran down my spine. Who was this person, and what did they want at this hour? The figure paced back and forth, their face hidden from view. The dim porch light only served to elongate their shadow, making them appear even more sinister. My finger tightened on the trigger of my gun, my heart pounding in my chest. Fear, raw and primal, surged through me. I had to act fast. Each second that ticked by felt like an eternity.
In that moment, Turris knew he had to confront his fear head-on.
Taking a deep breath, I threw open the door, the Ruger AR.556 trained on the intruder. "Who are you?" I roared, my voice trembling slightly. "What do you want?"
For a moment, the figure seemed to freeze, caught off guard. Then they turned and ran into the night. Turris stood there for a moment, his heart still racing, unsure of what to do. The adrenaline slowly drained away, leaving him shaken and breathless. What had just happened?
I immediately called the police, my voice shaky as I reported the incident.
The operator on the other end of the line was calm and reassuring, assuring Turris that help was on the way. The police arrived within minutes, sirens wailing in the stillness of the night. They swarmed the property, their flashlights cutting through the darkness as they searched for any sign of the intruder. Turris watched from the window, his body still buzzing with adrenaline, his mind racing with questions.
2 officers, a man and a woman, took my statement, their faces etched with concern. I recounted the events as best as I could, the fear and confusion evident in my voice.
They listened patiently, asking clarifying questions, trying to piece together the events of that night. As Turris answered their questions, he couldn't shake off the feeling that something wasn't right.
Why was my house targeted? Who was that shadowy figure and what did they want?
The following days were a blur of police interviews, forensic investigations, and sleepless nights. The incident had left Turris shaken, his sense of security shattered. He was living in a constant state of fear, jumping at shadows, unable to shake off the feeling that he was being watched.
Then came the news that turned my world upside down. The police had made an arrest. The intruder wasn't a random burglar, but someone I knew, someone I had considered a friend.
But the real shock came when tourists learned who had hired him. It was his ex-girlfriend, a woman scorned, driven by a venomous cocktail of rage and revenge.
The weight of her betrayal hit me like a ton of bricks. The person I had once loved, the person I had shared my life with, had wanted me dead.
Section 8. Justice prevails. The trial was a media frenzy. The story of the scorned lover hiring a hitman to eliminate her ex-boyfriend was the kind of salacious tale that made headlines.
I sat through the proceedings, my stomach churning as I listened to the evidence against my ex-girlfriend. The prosecution presented a strong case, detailing her motive, her means, and her utter lack of remorse.
My former friend, the hitman, testified against her, his voice shaking as he recounted the events of that night. He claimed that my ex-girlfriend had promised him a hefty sum of money to scare me, to teach me a lesson, but he had never intended to go through with it. He had gotten scared and fled the scene. The jury deliberated for 3 days before returning with a guilty verdict. My ex-girlfriend was sentenced to a lengthy prison term, her venomous hatred ultimately leading to her own downfall. Section 9. Picking up the pieces. The trial was over, but the scars remained. My sense of trust was shattered, my faith in humanity shaken to its core.
The woman I had loved, the woman I had thought I knew, had been living a lie. I sold my house, the place where I had once felt safe and secure, and moved to a new city, hoping to leave the horrors of the past behind me. But the memories lingered, haunting my dreams, casting a long shadow over my life.
The road to recovery was long and arduous. Section 10. Finding closure.
Therapy helped me process the trauma, to understand the complexities of the situation, and to forgive, not for her, but for me. I learned that forgiveness was not about condoning her actions, but about freeing myself from the shackles of the past. I focused on rebuilding my life, surrounding myself with people I could trust, people who genuinely cared about me. I reconnected with old friends, forged new bonds, and slowly but surely, the pieces of my shattered life began to fall back into place.
It was a slow process, but with each passing day, the shadows of the past seemed to fade a little. Section 11. A New Dawn.
The experience left me irrevocably changed. I was no longer the naive, trusting person I once was, but it also made me stronger, more resilient, more appreciative of the preciousness of life and the importance of surrounding myself with genuine, trustworthy people.
The night my ex sent a hitman was a night of unimaginable terror, a night that tested the very limits of my strength and sanity. But it was also a night that ultimately set me free. It forced me to confront my demons, to rebuild my life, and to emerge from the darkness stronger than ever before.
The sun rose again, casting its warm glow on a new day, a new beginning. The horrors of the past would always be a part of my story, but they would no longer define me. I was a survivor,